Director's take, Lifeweaver's growth and balance. Aaron Keller. Lifeweaver came out last week and landed with quite a splash. There was a lot of conversation about his abilities, his background, and let's be honest here, his hotness. I love that that's in the first sentence of this. This is going to be... That's great. I love it. I love it. Let's go into detail about where we think he's at, what we're going to do with him going forward, and his effect on our philosophy on heroes and how we release them. I'm curious to see what this is because, like, we've seen two different styles of hero releases recently. We saw really overpowered hero releases, and we saw really underpowered hero releases. So I wonder if this means they're going to try to, like, find maybe that middle ground or something like that, because that's a little bit different, right? I'm really curious in that one. Currently, Lifeweaver is performing in multiple variations in quick play while players are learning the new hero. So basically like a 20% win rate. We saw Lifeweaver's win rate climb faster than other heroes when launched. Oh, I was completely wrong on that one. Perhaps due to the surprising piece of data that his win rate is much higher for low skill players than it is for high skill players. Lifeweaver is a complex hero and he has an amazing kit with abilities that can have a high impact in a match. However, these factors can make it harder to balance a hero at launch. Could there be aspects of his kit like the slow while charge and heal that punish high skill players? Could the auto aim on his heal have a much higher benefit for low skill players? I do want to point out, I actually love the heal. Like the auto aim on the heal. I don't know what it is about the auto aim on the heal, but it feels like you can do really fun and exciting things with the heal that I really like. I just said heal like 5 times. I actually like the way that plays. I don't know what it is about that play, but I really hope that they keep that very similar because it's super fun, in my opinion. I feel like it's actually super fun. We've also heard from players that his control scheme feels awkward, with weapon swapping between damage and healing and pedal platform and alternate fire cited the most. We'll be changing these, but I wanted to give a little context into how we ended up with this scheme. I do want to talk about that a little bit, and I was talking about it yesterday on stream. A lot of supports have the ability to just basically use one button and not have to weapon swap to get value, right? For example, BAP, you left click to DPS, you right click to heal. Kiriko, you know what I mean? Like these heroes outside of Mercy, you have to weapon swap on Mercy, but like every support basically has the ability to damage and heal on essentially without weapon swapping with one key. It was a bit, like they said, it was a bit awkward on Lifeweaver where you would try to switch back and forth and you could never find timings because of that to really do any damage. The spread was too much on the damage to really find the value of it. So if you had ever switched to damage, it means your team was basically able to win a team fight, but you spent most of the time just healing because it just wasn't worth switching to do DPS because you weren't getting much value. On top of that, I've heard the controller scheme was really tough for it. So when we first began working on Lifeweaver, the idea was to create a support hero that spent most of their time healing, need little aim and skill to heal, and brought transformational abilities to the battlefield. Take, for instance, the weapon swap. Early in development, his weapon was a lot less effective than it is today, but steadily over time, it was tweaked in a number of ways that ultimately led to the Thorn Volley that you see today. We learned to play Lifeweaver in a certain state, and as his kit evolved, we weren't responsive involved in his control scheme as well. So basically, as the hero evolved, they just didn't really adjust the control scheme because they were kind of getting used to that already. And we talked about this a little bit, but we'll summarize this now. So what are we going to do with him? In next week's patch, we'll be making some changes to his control scheme. Going forward, his new default control scheme will be Thorn Volley will be moved to alternate fire. Great swap. We're just talking about that right now. That needed to happen. That's going to make Lifeweaver play a lot better. I think you're going to get a little bit more damage output now. I think getting rid of the weapon swap in general was good. I absolutely still like that. That is a good switch. Pedal platform will be moved to ability slot 1, which means now you have a keybind opened up and makes it so pedal platform will get value there. So basically you're not using it with one of your other buttons that you have. Rejuvenate and dash will be activated with double jump. You see that with Hanzo. Once again, a great switch. I thought that's how it should have been from the get-go. Being able to use that button to double jump and make the play makes a lot more sense, right? That is a good swap. That is way better. Pedal platform will be cancelable by pressing the button again, so you'll hit your ability 1 button again, and the passive reload will be slowed for the weapon that Lifeweaver isn't currently using. So, that makes sense. Okay. Players will still have the option to use his original control scheme if they prefer. So say that you did get used to the current control scheme and you don't want to switch it. Like you're like, no, I don't want to switch. You have the option to keep that original control scheme. So you have the option for either or now, which I think is really good to have that option, which I think is really, really cool. We're also making some changes to Lifeweaver's abilities. This was posted yesterday. Alec talked about this yesterday in a tweet. The slow effect on Lifeweaver's heal will only be applied a short time after it's charged. We're currently testing it at 1 second. This was really designed to discourage players from permanently holding a healing charge, but the current implementation is too strict. Good change. I think the heal slow was a little bit, Like that, it just made it a little bit more difficult to be able to kind of play the style that most other heroes are playing. So that's a good change. So the slow didn't feel as good as it could have been during that. So I like that change. Tree of Life will receive a health buff and do more healing per pulse. Makes sense. I feel like Tree of Life was good, but it wasn't great. And it didn't feel like it was as impactful as an ultimate could be. And then what's going to happen is everybody's going to go Sombra and EMP it. So then he just won't even do anything. But still, I think it's a, I think it's a good, I think it's a good swap to make it a little bit better. I think if I'm correct on the numbers, I think it's 1200 HP now on the Tree of Life. I forgot the exact healing pulse numbers now, but it's a buff. And then Part and Gift will be removed. I don't know why they did this, the Part and Gift. I don't feel like they had to remove it. I don't think people used it that much, but one of the arguments that somebody had brought up was that, like, well, flankers were getting a lot of value because the flankers would be able to go on the flank and then get like an limb on a support and then get the health pack and then do that. So I'm not sure why they got rid of it or what they saw with that, but I'm sure maybe there's some stats on it, like it's being picked up like 3% of the time or something and nobody was getting used to it. I don't know. It's 1200 plus 75. Okay, that makes sense. All right, Lifeweaver has given us a lot to think about for hero development. Specifically, the complexity of heroes, the amount of new and unique abilities, and the balance of heroes at launch. Well, Lifeweaver has a few abilities that don't have a precedent in Overwatch, and when they are combined with the extra effort around the weapon swap, it can get a little overwhelming. Basically, Lifeweaver's a pretty new style hero they have. They haven't had a hero like Lifeweaver. So when you add a bunch of other stuff into it, like a weapon swap, and you make it so you have to worry about 8 different things at once with Lifeweaver, it's going to be really difficult to be able to kind of grasp the whole playstyle at once. And while over time that could work, it's better to have a much better scheme for it or setup that allows for the player to kind of be like, okay, I can use this. I don't have to worry about this. Okay, I can get my buttons down correctly. Makes it a lot easier, right? It gets a little bit of that. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit overcomplicated. Makes it a little bit overwhelming. This is a good swap. I think Lifeweaver's going to play a little bit better. We think that streamlining the kit by reworking the weapon swap and removing Part and Gift, along with a more fluid control scheme, will make Lifeweaver a little easier to pick up and understand and elevate him into a much better position. Although I still don't understand, like, the removing Part and Gift part of that, because it was just a passive, right? Like, I don't think there was, like, Lifeweaver's going, yeah, I'm just going to run in there and just pick up my Part and Gift. They're going to get me, just get my Part and Gift, please. You're going to get healed for that. I don't know what the exact reason behind the Part and Gift removal is. I don't think it was being used that way. It was just like a passive you would pick up off the ground. Maybe there was some stats showing otherwise, or like, I don't know, but it's not in the game anymore, right? The number of unique / high impact abilities on Lifeweaver can be seen as a bit of a departure for Overwatch hero design. In the past, we might have spread these abilities among more than one hero. This is how Genji and Hanzo were created. Oh, that's kind of cool. However, there's so much to dive into with the hero, and the learning process of how to play him is fun in and of itself, which is not wrong. I think playing the hero is fun. It was the numbers and like the ability timings and a lot of stuff that made the hero difficult for people. It wasn't the lack of the hero being fun. It was being able to play the hero the correct way and actually be able to get value out of the hero. There's such a big range of possibilities of what he can potentially do in a match. There are two sides of this coin, and there has been a lot of player excitement around his kit. While we won't make every Overwatch hero this complex, we think there's room to make more heroes like Lifeweaver in the future, which I don't think is a problem with that. I think having heroes have this type of fun, exciting kit is fine. It's more about having the weapon scheme correct from the get-go and maybe the balance a little bit more balanced from the get-go, so you're not playing either an overpowered hero or an underpowered hero, because when that happens, you're forced, like, I think, like, they want to find that middle ground, but I think it's going to be hard to find the middle ground for that. So it's like, do you make the hero way too underpowered to start and then balance a week later, or do you make the hero overpowered and then balance down? My take on this is maybe a little bit overpowered, because it's not, if the hero's not in rank for 2 weeks, that gives you experimental time and it lets players have a little bit more value on those heroes when the hero's released, rather than make the hero super underpowered and then make it so people are like, what do I even do on the hero at that point, right? Because the hero isn't in rank from the get-go, you have a little bit more opportunity, and players still have a little bit to get the hero at that point. So, like, I think there's, yeah. Anyway, regarding new hero balance, we're not exactly shifting our philosophy, but we do think that both Lifeweaver and Ramatra landed a little softer than we would have liked. I've talked about this. Ramatra, people are like, what do you mean? Ramatra's ultimate was so good. For anybody who doesn't know this, when Ramatra was released, okay, Ramatra had no speed boost in Nemesis form. So imagine using the ultimate right now or using Nemesis form and you just go slow. You're just going the regular speed you would go. You couldn't get to anybody. People would back away and they'd be waving hello to you. They'd be like, hey, how's it going, Ramattra? You're like, hey, wait a second. Give me a second here. I need to catch up to you. So Ramattra didn't even have that. They had to buff Ramattra to make Ramattra better. So we recognize that a hero's win rate will climb after they launch, but we also want those same heroes to feel exciting for players on day one. I agree. Our goal is for new heroes to feel balanced at launch, not overpowered, but definitely not underpowered. We were just talking about that either. When we don't hit the mark, we'll make adjustments based on your feedback and the data that we see. And one thing I think we can agree on is they've done a pretty good job recently of making like balance changes and shifts to balance pretty quickly if they feel like they have to. Because when we started off season 1, like with Sojourn being so strong and like these heroes being strong for a while, it took a bit. And then now they've gotten way more aggressive ever since they fixed the hotfix system. Then they're willing to be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're right. This hero is ridiculous right now. We're just going to go change that. And I think that is a good change across the board, in my opinion. I really do like that. And I think that's a great, just overall thing that they've done. So I hope you're all enjoying Lifeweaver. I can't wait for you to see what else is coming in season 4 and beyond. See you in game. Honestly, Lifeweaver's fun. I like playing Lifeweaver, but I'm glad to see these changes. Really cool to see. And just to give a little bit of like, let me go and give you a little bit of on the actual balance very quickly. I just want to read the numbers here too. We can put this in the video. So Heal and Blossom is now, ammo is up to 20 from 12. The slow during charge now kicks in 1 second after fully charging. Thorn Volley, the spread is now tightened. Means it's going to be a little bit easier to get value with the alternate fire. Tree of Life has 1200 HP now, and each per pulse is 75. And the Parton Gift is removed. So those are the balance changes we're also seeing on Tuesday.